Embarrassing emails cost a top Democrat her job. Pokemon Go, a tool for spies and terrorists. And top rabbis in Israel again say that the Messiah's arrival is imminent. This is SkyWatch TV for Monday, July 25th, 2016. I'm Derek Gilbert. First up, prominent prophecy teacher Tim LaHaye has gone home to be with the Lord. He was age 90. Passed away earlier today after suffering a stroke just a couple of days ago. Tim LaHaye, probably best known as the co-creator of the Left Behind series of novels, co-authored with Jerry B. Jenkins. But LaHaye was the author of more than 60 nonfiction books on everything from family life to secular humanism, with over 14 million copies in print. He founded 2 accredited Christian high schools, San Diego Christian College, and assisted Dr. Henry Morris in creating the Institute for Creation Research. He'd been married to his wife, Beverly, for 69 years. Dr. LaHaye is survived by Beverly, their 4 children, 9 grandchildren, 16 great-grandchildren, as well as a brother and a sister. And regardless of what you think about Dr. LaHaye's interpretation of the book of Revelation or end times prophecy in general, this was a man who devoted his life to the service of the Lord to the best of his ability, and he will be missed. In other news, the WikiLeaks dump of emails from Democratic Party servers may have come from Russian intelligence. A hacker calling himself Guccifer 2.0, or Guccifer, claimed responsibility for stealing thousands of documents, including opposition researcher Donald Trump. But a long trail of digital breadcrumbs leads back to Moscow. According to the Washington Post, it looks like the FSB, which is the intelligence agency that replaced the KGB, and Russian military intelligence were inside Democratic Party servers for about a year. So what we're seeing now with the release of these emails is the transformation of a blown operation into an influence operation, or a PSYOP, psychological operation. And the emails that have been released have been embarrassing to the Democratic Party, to say the least. They showed that Democratic National Committee leadership, from Debbie Wasserman Schultz on down, stacked the deck against Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders in his challenge to Hillary Clinton for the Democratic Party's nomination for president. Well, DNC Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz, over the weekend, under pressure, resigned. She thought she would maintain her speaking position at the Democratic National Convention, which kicks off tonight in Philadelphia. That apparently turns out not to be the case. She's being quarantined, in the words of one Democratic Party official. Hillary Clinton's campaign managers come up with an interesting theory. He suggests that the Russians released these emails because they want Donald Trump to win, and suggests that perhaps it's a bad thing that Russia is pulling for Trump. But as Republican National Party Chair Reince Priebus said, you know, the Russians didn't write those emails. A disturbing report from California, as long as we're on politics. Investigative reporter Wayne Madsen, quoted at Infowars.com, which is Alex Jones's website, says that Hispanic delegates pledged to Donald Trump are avoiding interviews with the press because they're afraid of being targeted by the violent El Salvadoran gang MS-13. Madsen writes that Trump's law and order message is more popular among Hispanic voters than polls show, but Hispanic voters, like their political leaders, are afraid to say so because of the threat of violence from MS-13. In Turkey, the government of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has declared a state of emergency for the next 3 months. Of course, last weekend, you know, there was a failed coup there. The government in Turkey says this 3-month state of emergency will give them time to take swift and effective action against those responsible for the failed coup. Erdogan accuses the U.S.-based cleric Fethullah Gulen, 75-year-old, in self-imposed exile, of being behind the coup, and the Turkish government is demanding that he be extradited for prosecution. Now, many in the government of Egypt were quietly pulling for the coup while it was unfolding last weekend. You might remember in Egypt back in 2013, the military, led by Field Marshal Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, overthrew the government headed up by Mohammed Morsi of the Muslim Brotherhood. Well, the Muslim Brotherhood was founded about 100 years ago in Egypt in response to the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. So it's not a surprise that Turkey's government, led by the neo-Ottoman ambitions of President Erdogan, is at odds with the government of Egypt for taking down the Muslim Brotherhood, especially since President Erdogan has been flashing this four-fingered salute lately. This gesture is well known in the Middle East. It's associated with the violence that occurred during the military takeover in 2013 and the massacre of hundreds of Muslim Brotherhood supporters in Cairo. That's a very clear message from President Erdogan, and the Egyptian government does not appreciate it. Egypt's President El-Sisi is watching his back today, by the way. He has changed his plans and will not attend a meeting of the Arab League, which kicked off today in Mauritania. The government says that there's credible information of an assassination plot directed at President Sisi. Egypt's delegation at the meeting is being led instead by Prime Minister Ismail Sharif. Russian warplanes reportedly bombed a secret U.S. base in Syria last week. Wall Street Journal reported Thursday that the attack on the CIA-linked base was part of a campaign by Russia to persuade the United States to cooperate more closely in the skies over Syria. See what happens when we don't cooperate? Things like this happen. People get hurt. The Obama administration apparently has cooperated. They've agreed with Russia to target al-Qaeda affiliate, the al-Nusra Front in Syria, the thought being that by targeting them, American allies, amongst other rebel groups, would be protected. However, officials in the Pentagon and at CIA headquarters are not happy with this agreement. They see this as the White House bowing to the Kremlin. Last year, we told you about a rather repulsive practice common among tribal leaders and police chiefs in Afghanistan. It's called baka batsi, or boy play. And it is what your imagination thinks it might be. U.S. soldiers were reportedly told by their superior officers to ignore the sounds of young boys, tea servers, or dancing boys, being abused at night by Afghan allies bunking on American military bases. Well, the French press agency is reporting now that the Taliban has caught on to this, and they are using child sex slaves to launch insider attacks against Afghan forces. One report indicates that as many as 6 attacks have taken place in Afghanistan between January and April of this year that killed hundreds of Afghan policemen. The U.S. State Department calls baka batsi a culturally sanctioned form of male rape. And it appears that this is the biggest security hole among Afghan forces in some parts of Afghanistan. Less than a week after a Muslim teen from Afghanistan used an axe to attack passengers on a train in Germany, a Syrian refugee in Germany has attacked and killed a pregnant woman there with a machete. The attack was cut short. No one else was hurt because a driver in a BMW saw what was happening and ran over the Syrian man. The attack took place in the southwestern city of Reutlingen. News media there reporting that the motive is still unclear. We've been talking about this as a possibility for some time on SkyWatch TV. In fact, we mentioned this in our documentary film Inhuman, a question that is now being asked publicly here in the United States. Should human-pig chimeras be treated as persons? Now, if you're not familiar with the concept of transhumanism or transgenics, that sounds like a bizarre question to ask, but there are bioethicists who are serious about this. Scientists here in the United States are trying to create pigs with human organs to alleviate the shortage of organs for transplant. The question then becomes how much of the pig has to be human before it is granted protection under the law, personhood status, if you will. Especially if, while trying to create a human pancreas or liver inside the pig, human genes affect the pig's cognitive ability so that it begins to think more like a human. Well, frankly, I predict that pig humans will never be granted personhood status. In fact, I believe it's more likely that the definition of personhood will go the other direction, and that humans with cognitive disabilities, people who are mentally challenged, perhaps people who have suffered severe brain trauma, will lose their personhood status in order to make their 100% human organs available for transplant without violating the law. And once we take people with cognitive disabilities, next will be prisoners on death row, and then political prisoners, religious prisoners, jaywalkers, people with unpaid parking tickets, and so on. You see, the drive to become immortal is powerful, and it will soon override all other human concerns if the Lord tarries. So far this year, it doesn't seem we've gone more than 2 weeks without another report from Israel about Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox rabbis declaring that the Messiah's appearance is imminent. Now, of course, as Christians, we know that it's the Messiah's return, but still, it is interesting and I think important to understand what the rabbis are looking for and why. Rabbi Shalom Berger recently visited Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, who's considered one of the leading rabbis of our time. Rabbi Berger asked if this year was particularly auspicious or significant for the arrival of Messiah. And Rabbi Kanievsky said the year 5776, which is the Hebrew year we're in now, it ends at nightfall on Sunday, October 2nd, in Hebrew letters spells salvation. Rabbi Kanievsky has been very outspoken about Messiah's arrival this year, but previously he was not known to make proclamations or predictions of when the Messiah might arrive. And a guest on this program here, SkyWatchTV, several months ago, Rabbi Meditayu Glazerson, who's an expert in Torah codes, finding messages encoded in the Hebrew text of the first 5 books of the Bible, has released a new video he calls Temple Will Come Down to Jerusalem 5776. Rabbi Glazerson says he's found a specific code that translates as God will inform on the 15th of Av. And the 15th of Av this year falls on Friday, August 19th. Mark that on the calendar. We'll see what happens. And you might have missed it, but the world over the weekend was linked by video to a transformational festival that kicked off Friday night, ran through the weekend, called Tomorrowland. It's been covered by the media as a big music festival, but make no mistake, it's more than just about music. This is a pagan festival, and we call it a transformational festival because that's how they see it. They want to transform the world. Our friend Carl Tykrib, his website, forcingchange.org, highly recommended. He's been researching these for years, says that these festivals are intended to, in a sense, draw people in and indoctrinate them into pagan, New Age, occult teachings regarding enlightenment in the hopes of transforming the world into the paradise on earth they think they can create. It's essentially a pagan missionary outreach. Tomorrowland has been around since 2005, started in Brussels, Belgium. Brussels was the main site for the Tomorrowland Festival this year, which again just wrapped up. But it was linked by video last year and this year again to mirror festivals taking place in Jerusalem, also in Germany, India, Japan, Mexico, and South Africa, just about every continent on earth except for North America. Tomorrowland started in 2005. Since 2008, it's been held every year on a weekend in late July. Each year has a theme, but every year the trailer that they produce to promote the festival begins by opening a mystical book called the Book of Wisdom, from which all of the stories that are presented during these festivals are drawn. And the trailers for these festivals never actually mention music, which is a little odd for something billed to the mainstream media as the world's biggest music festival. The logo for the festival includes a third eye, which of course is a well-known occult symbol indicating enlightenment. Each year's theme introduces another step on a path toward unlocking ancient secrets for mankind. This year, the trailer featured a Wiccan woman collecting herbs and flowers in a beautiful forest. And she's led to a secret location at the center of the wood, which she can only enter by blindfolding herself, which of course is a common practice among initiates into the occult. Be aware of events like this, transformational festivals. This is similar to the Burning Man festival held every year in the Nevada desert. Our kids and grandkids are being drawn to music festivals like this because it looks like a great big party. But they're not just getting music at these festivals. Again, it is an occult indoctrination. And we as Christians are pretty much ignoring these things, and there are a couple hundred of them that take place around the world every year. Just when we thought it was that the Pokemon fad had ended, my daughter was into this 15 years ago, but it's been rejuvenated as an augmented reality game thanks to Google, and smartphones. Millions of people around the world are chasing animated cartoon creatures with their smartphones and tablets. But is this Pokemon Go just a harmless game? Consider that the app, Pokemon Go, is based on a technology developed by a mapping firm called Keyhole. Keyhole was founded in 2001 with venture capital provided by the CIA. In-Q-Tel is the venture capital division of the Central Intelligence Agency, and they invest in companies that are working on technologies they think will provide a return to the intelligence community within a very short period of time, within 18 to 36 months. Keyhole was purchased by Google. Google then founded this startup Niantic, which is the company that's developed Pokemon Go. Keyhole is also the technology behind Google Maps, Google Street View, Google Earth. That all came from the original investment made by the CIA. Now, consider how this might be used by an intelligence agency. Millions of people carrying smartphones, which have cameras and microphones that can be remotely activated. Now, consider how useful it might be if, say, social media were to spread the idea that a very rare Pokemon had suddenly appeared on the wall of a nuclear power plant or a sensitive government agency building. How much information might be collected by all of those cameras and microphones and GPS trackers pinging back to the NSA? One other aspect of this, as I told you a couple of weeks ago, we already know that there have been multiple cases where players of the game have been lured into armed robberies looking for a rare Pokemon, not paying attention to where they were until it was too late. Consider what might happen if a terrorist group decided to lure a bunch of Pokemon Go players to a specific location to detonate a bomb or let loose with automatic weapons. This week on SkyWatch TV, Steve Quayle continues his discussion of the new book, Empire Beneath the Ice. Did the Nazis really lose World War II? Steve says no, and he talks about Operation High Jump, which was the mission to the bottom of the world led by retired Admiral Richard Byrd. That program airs tonight on the Victory Television Network, 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Tomorrow, 4 different locations, including the Victory Television Network, the Christian Television Network Coast to Coast, that's DirecTV Channel 376, Dish Network Channel 267, the Glory Star Satellite Channel 117. On Wednesday, you can see it coast to coast on the Cornerstone Network at 2:30 p.m. and on World Harvest Television. That is DirecTV Channel 367. That's at 6 p.m. following the Jim Baker Show. And then WLLA-TV in Kalamazoo again Wednesday night at 10:30 p.m. And then Saturday on the Victory Television Network and WCLF-TV in the Tampa-St. Petersburg area. And, of course, the program available now, the SkyWatch TV channel on Roku and on Vimeo. And please remember our exclusive online content, of course, these daily news updates, as well as Into the Multiverse with Josh Peck and his lovely wife, Christina. Sci Friday, the weekly look at science from a Christian perspective with me and our science editor, just happens to be my best friend and my wife, Sharon Gilbert. Skywatch Women forthcoming, also the Supernatural Worldview forthcoming with Chris Putnam, and another program called Teens Rock in development with Joe Artis Horn. All of those available at SkyWatchTV.com and the SkyWatch TV channel on Roku. And if you want a portable version, something you can take with you when you drive or mow the lawn, download the SkyWatch TV podcast. That's an audio-only version of all of our programs. You'll find that linked at skywatchtv.com. Just check the top menu bar where it says podcast. Your support keeps us going at SkyWatch TV during the month of July. Preparation for the Spiritual War. 2 books we will send you, if you're a U.S. resident, for your donation of any amount, Empowered by His Presence, and 50 Things You Need to Know About Satan and Demons. For more information and to donate, log on to skywatchtv.com/donate. And of course, you can help us just by clicking your mouse. When you find something we've posted on the internet, click share, click like, click subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you want to find the stuff that I've posted to the web, including my new YouTube channel, which, by the way, will soon start featuring audio from all the interviews I conducted at the Rocky Mountain International Prophecy Conference, you'll find those there. And send your comments, questions, and suggestions to dgilbert@skywatchtv.com. And thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is SkyWatch TV. America isn't the same country that we grew up in, but it's hard to get back what we've forgotten we had. That's why Defender Publishing presents When Once We Were a Nation. 12 chapters, 12 authors, each one remembering when once we were a nation of strength, of rugged individualism, of dreams and opportunity, when once we were a nation of faith. From authors like Tom Horn, Chris Putnam, Lieutenant Colonel Bob McGinnis, Sheila Zielinski, and more. And when you order a copy of the new book, When Once We Were a Nation from SkyWatch TV, we'll add these books free. Dancing with the Devil, an honest look at the occult. Culture Clash, Islam's War with America. Conspiracies and the Cross, how to refute the most popular attacks on the gospel. And God Bless America by Todd Starnes of Fox News. When Once We Were a Nation from Defender Publishing, because the first step to getting it back is remembering what we had.